This research project has not been easy so far. Intriguing, yes, but not easy. I have been on a feminist kick for a few months now. I'm still trying to figure out what that means today, but I know that I want there to be some decent human equality throughout the world for men and women. When I first got to Texas, I took a New Testament class with Dr. Irons, and one of her focuses was on the feminine equality in the Bible that is easily overlooked. At the same time, Dr. Myers was teaching about finding and using my voice in academic writing. I now knew what to watch out for. I went with Dr. Irons this spring break to Britain. By the way, highly recommend it. And I found this little bookstore called the Little Apple Bookshop. I could spend all day telling you about how I could have spent all day in this store, but what was fascinating was that there was an entire 4-foot section devoted to feminist writers. I found this book titled 50 Shades of Feminism with a bunch of different excerpts from different women explaining their meaning of feminism. And our textbook for this trip was Her Own Story by Paul Cicolti, and my own mother has written a book about the Bible. So when this assignment came up, I decided I wanted to play around with this idea. My first thought was something along the lines of, how do women write about themselves? I love to write, and I have found that when I am most true to my story, that is when my best writing happens. So I wanted to explore the process of other women writers. I am still intrigued by this idea, but the results are way too broad for this type of study. So I went off to the library. Now let me tell you, the library is like a second home to me. I don't even read physical books much anymore as I have a Kindle, but going to the library was like going home until I typed in my search request. As I said, this type of topic is much too broad for this focus of a study. For example, as you can see here, typing in female autobiographies returned over 350,000 different results. I still tried to make it work though. I found 6 different books to look at, plus the 3 I had at home and 20 articles. I realized that I had to narrow it down somehow. I have learned that the Methodist faith is having a lot of trouble surrounding the idea of women preachers. I found out that many of the early Methodist women were itinerant preachers, or at least for a while until the higher-ups put a stop to it. Along the same path as my recent obsession, this discovery upset me. Why can't women be preachers also? A lot of women do like to write about their spiritual journeys, as I discovered in that textbook, so why couldn't they tell others about that journey in real time? It's not just the Methodists, but as this is a Methodist university, and this got me thinking. The mother of the founder of Methodism, Susanna Wesley, preached in her kitchen in the neighborhood. I found an article in my search about a couple of prophetesses that also wrote and preached on the Bible during the 1700s. Something was forming here. I decided to narrow my search to female spiritual autobiographies, or how do women write about their spiritual journeys. This is where my mother's book fits in perfect. The women of the 18th and 19th century certainly stood up for themselves when fighting for their right to preach, and I wanted to read it from the horse's mouth. One of my favorite articles that I came across was about African American preaching women of the 18 and 1900s by Sally M. Cuffey. This article explained how women use their autobiographies, written and oral, to break down social norms and assert their basic rights as humans, women, and as Christians. I then went through all the sources I had compiled and compared them to this article. How did women write about their spiritual journeys, and how are they doing so now? Most of what I found was in diary form. A diary is where someone can write exactly what they mean without worrying about the effect of the words on an observer. I don't much like writing in diaries. Every how-to book I've read about writing says that good writers should use a journal or a diary. I think even Dr. Meyer said that, but I find that diary writing is in the same luxurious field as time, and I don't know where that field is. But reading diaries is super fun. I said that when I stay close to my own story that my writing becomes excellent. This is true, and I do not take it back, but getting that stuff out of my head can sometimes be a chore. I am one of the quietest, most shy people you will ever meet. But when I write, although it takes a lot of work, I am most free. I think that within the course of this project, I have discovered that most women writers are the same. Maybe not the quiet, shy part, but the free when writing part. It is not easy for anyone, of course. But going back centuries, women writers have put it all on paper. This is a problem still today. Women are trying to make their academic voices heard in a patriarchal education system. I did find an article about this very thing, but it was no longer relevant to my topic. That's fine, because I know the real dirt now. But seriously, women tend to censor their academic writing in very similar ways to the censoring done in real time. I know this is not a persuasive paper, but if I could beg you of one thing, it would be to consider this issue and how it relates to the outside world. What can we do to make sure all voices are heard and accepted in universities, and not just men or not just women? I am trying to figure out how to meet that challenge myself. I thought I knew what being an adult was, but I had no idea. Turns out it kind of sucks, but that's neither here nor there. Reading about the struggles of these real women within their faith was inspiring, and to see these women stand fast and true to their faith was a real eye-opener. One of the things I've said throughout this assignment was that I wished I could follow this study all the way through. And I don't know how I'd fit this into my future studies, but if I could, this might be my new focus. How do women write about themselves, and what does that say about us?